From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the show. It's Thursday, August 18th, 2022, our last episode of the week. That's it. We'll be back on Monday. I know. I'm not going to part ways just quite yet, though. We've got a packed show today, including a breaking report on the Estonia, cyber attack, North Korea targeting macOS, and Apple Zeroday. So much to talk about this morning. Let's get right into it. But before we do, if y'all want to join me in what I like to call our morning tradition here on the show, just something we all enjoy doing, drinking our morning beverage, whatever it could be. I prefer espressos. I always drink espressos. I've not once been on the show and not had an espresso unless I'm like traveling or somewhere where I couldn't get my hands on one and I just can't bring myself to drink black coffee. So with that being said, coffee cup cheers. We're going to kick off today. By the way, CyberHubPodcast.com. Go check it out. All the latest and greatest. We're going to kick off with the Apple Zeroday. So yesterday, Apple released 2 security patches for iOS, iPadOS, and macOS platforms to remediate 2 zero-day vulnerabilities previously exploited by threat actors to compromise the devices, CVE 2022-32890-3, 32890-4, both of which are now patched and require you to update your iPhones and MacBooks and iPads. So the out-of-bounds issue on 32890-3 is in the WebKit, which could lead to the execution of arbitrary code by processing especially crafted web content. 32890-4 is an out-of-bounds issue in the OS kernel that could be abused by malicious applications to execute arbitrary code with the highest privileges. Apple said both of those issues have been addressed. They may have been actively exploited. They didn't release more information. Additional 0 days that they've patched since the beginning of the year. This has been one of those. So vulnerabilities have been fixed in iOS to 15.6.1, iPadOS 15.6.1, and macOS Monterey 12.5.1. The iOS and iPad updates are available for iPhone 6s and later, iPad Pro, all models, iPad Air 2 and later, iPad 5th generation and later, iPad Mini and 4th, and iPad Touch and iPod Touch. I didn't know those still exist, but there apparently are. So there's that. Go get your Apple patched, folks. DigitalOcean is disclosing impact from the Mailchimp cyberattack again. Supply chain attacks, your SaaS providers, your platform, your infrastructure. You could be just as impacted. And even though there's little one could do to mitigate it, you try to have a plan in place and you work on it. It's really hard work. Honestly, like it's so hard to try to plan for what do you do for when as a critical, or a high priority company for your organization goes through an event of their own, right? And we're not going to talk about fault here and liability and all of that. You can take that up with your counsels, right? But as practitioners, this is a big one right here. And so DigitalOcean announced that email addresses of some of their customers may have been impacted in the recent cyber attack that targeted Mailchimp. Mailchimp sent its suspended accounts to protect user data, that 214 accounts in total were impacted, and that it acted quickly to notify all primary contacts of impacted accounts and implement an additional set of enhanced security measures. DigitalOcean said it discovered the compromise of its Mailchimp account roughly a week ago when its account was abruptly suspended without notification from Mailchimp. According to the company, the notification that eventually arrived from Mailchimp claimed that account had been suspended for violating terms of use, and that it was only after established communication with Mailchimp that the cyber attack was officially confirmed. And I don't think this was malicious by Mailchimp. I think that's the only thing Mailchimp could do, right? I'm sure like they never had like your account's been suspended because of a cyber incident, right? Like that probably never crossed anyone's mind that they would need to issue that notification. Again, not making excuses for Mailchimp. I'm just saying this is a lot more complex. We can all Monday morning quarterback this thing right, left, 100 ways. But when you're not on the field playing the game, when you're not there in real time having to make decisions, when you're unaware of priorities, when things just don't get done. And Mailchimp's had a hard time really retaining CISOs over the last several years. In fact, almost every year you see that they've got the posting for a CISO open. So, definitely something to keep in mind here. DigitalOcean says that, they are responding to this, and they're confirming it, and they're working on addressing it. And they're, also says that it's moved their critical services away from Mailchimp to another email service provider. And you don't really blame them for doing that either. Fortinet is reporting that the use of wipers is expanding way beyond the Ukraine into over 24 other countries. So wipers were kind of like the thing that Russia was using against Ukraine in its invasion, for a multitude of reasons. One, they wanted to wipe databases, wipe records. It allows its land grab to be justified because essentially all that paper trail goes away. That's one of the challenges of modern infrastructure, is that piece of paper, if it's digitized and it's destroyed and then that data is wiped, there's no record of it. Let that sink in for just a moment. So wiper malware has been used heavily by hacking groups in the Ukraine. Now, Fortinet security researcher Ravi told that the wiper malware is increasingly reaching targets outside the Ukraine. While versions have been previously seen in the Ukraine, Japan, and Israel, it's recently become a truly global phenomenon. No, it hasn't. I'm sorry here, Fortinet, and I'm sorry here, Gregory, and we can have this conversation if you'd like. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to have this conversation. Many will tell you that I'm very open-minded, but here's the thing. It's not a phenomenon. It's what we know to be the case in the cybercrime underworld. I create something for a purpose. I see it works. I see people don't really know how to mitigate it. I sell it and make a lot more money on it. That's the economics of cybercrime. And the spillover is going to continue. Absolutely. Wiper malware is here to stay until it gets the proper defenses and mitigation controls in place to where it becomes moot. Until then, it's here to stay. 24 countries. It'll be in 200 by the first quarter of next year. It will be. It'll be in every single country. And it'll be how things work. And there's, a whole cry about wiper malware and whatnot. But bottom line is this. Wiper malware works. If you're trying to achieve a political target using cybersecurity and cyber offense as a method, then you're going to use all available methods to you. And this is one of them. So put wiper malware on your radar. Start planning for it. If your playbooks don't have it, you should probably start looking at it, because I think that's going to be the next generation of ransomware. The next generation of ransomware is going to be, we're going to wipe everything. This is the wiper malware. We're going to wipe everything you've got unless you pay us. And if you don't, you're going to lose everything. And if you don't have backups, you're probably going to be there. So keep that in mind, practitioners. Bumblebee is back, and it's increasingly being co-opted by threat actors associated with Bizarre Loader, TrickBot, and Iced ID in their campaign to breach networks for exploitation activity. The Bumblebee operators have conducted intensive reconnaissance activities and redirect the output of executed commands to files for extraction, according to our friends over at CyberReason. In a technical write-up, Bumblebee first came to light in March of 2022 by TAG, that's Google's threat analysis group, unmasked by the activities of an initial access broker dubbed Exotic Lily, with ties to TrickBot and the larger Conti collectively. All together, you kind of see the write-up here. Typically delivered via initial access acquired through Spirit phishing campaigns, the modus operandi has since been tweaked by SQing macro-laced documents in favor of ISO and LNK files, primarily in response to Microsoft's decision to block macros by default. You block something, they're going to come back with something different. And if you can't deal with it, that's the thing about this. If you're going to stop here, they're not going to stop trying. They're going to try something else. So in your mind, when you're red teaming this, when you're blue teaming this, as you're doing your thread gathering, that's got to be something to look at. So this is this is there. CyberReason said that the stolen credentials of a highly privileged user was subsequently utilized to seize control of Active Directory and exfil data in this write-up. Go check it out on CyberReason's website. North Korean hackers are using signed MacOS malware to target IT job seekers. So here's why this is an increased risk. The economy is slowing down. With the economy slowing down and more layoffs coming through, more people are applying for jobs, meaning the candidates for specific jobs are if 100 people would apply for job X, now it'll be 300, right? Simply because the unemployment, the amount of people that are getting laid off and looking for work. So It's no surprise that North Korea and the Lazarus Group are now using that to target companies and impersonate companies in the fintech technology to gather, one, information, and number two, install malware, right? So they're posting jobs, career at Coinbase, engineering manager, product security. They're really posting some of those jobs. They're interviewing people pretending to be from those companies. They're creating fake LinkedIn profiles. And then they're dropping the macOS malware. ESET is linking this to Operation Interception. And it's looking at the macOS malware. The researcher noticed it was signed on July 21st with a certificate issued in February to a developer named Shanky Noria and team identifier as well. The certificate had not been revoked by Apple on August 12th. However, the malicious application was not notarized, and an automatic process that Apple uses to check for software for malicious components was not there. So you can tell there. And finally, we'll end today's and this morning's show with this. Estonia fended off a massive cyber attack coming from the Russians. This was their most extensive cyber attack since 2007, the one that really impacted Estonia, and then essentially made sure that for the last 15 years, they really haven't had to deal with this. Russian hacking group Killnet claimed responsibility for the attack, stating that it had blocked access to more than 200 state and private institutions like the online citizen identification system. However, as the Estonian government said, the impact of the attack was limited. Lukas Levayev, the Undersecretary for Digital Transformation at Estonia's Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communication, said Estonia was a subject of the most extensive cyber attack it has faced since 2007. With some brief and minor exceptions, websites remain fully available throughout the day. This is on the background of the Estonians removing a Soviet Tu-34 tank from public display in Narva to a museum on Tuesday, essentially saying that we don't want to keep Soviet monuments in our cities. Fair enough. It's their country. They get to make those decisions. So that's it for the show, folks. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday with a whole lot more exciting times ahead for all of us here in the world of cybersecurity. Make sure you tighten your belts. Make sure you're predicting and looking ahead. Till then, have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend and stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.